La ti bonito, yo les moi, yo di m'sou les malades. La ti bonito, yo les moi, yo di m'sou les malades. La ti bonito, yo les cherche moi, yo di m'sou les malades. Aime dériver, aime sauver mourir. Aime dériver, ça fait mal.
I know what the caged bird feels, alas. When the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass and the river flows like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and a faint perfume from its chalice steals, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats its wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars, for he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bough a swing, and the pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with the keenest sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, that a plea to upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream to the current ends and dips its wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But the bird who stalks down its narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped, its feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and its tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom, freedom. The caged bird sings of freedom, freedom. This is a need. This is a need dripping from my tongue like venom injected from a rattler's bite into your flesh. This is a need for all of the intestines that carry the filth and excrement from my body to take inventory of what goes through them and lash out, rebel, accept the fact that being black is torment and hell until we take control of our own destiny. This is a need. This is a hand in a hand, an old word to a young ear, a mission marching like the keys on the computer pad as I type this need disguised as a poem, running toward being a song, taking flight toward being an anthem, hanging from a tree like Raynard Johnson as injustice blows still in the winds around the hills, over the bayou, and dips itself into the hatred stew like a metal ladle coming up to fill the bowl that feeds the intestines its identity. This is a need. This is a need. This need is my frustration, and it's a black woman's womb contracting like the universe on the next go-round. It is a fireless flame reminiscing on two flames fleeting due to AIDS and miseducation about me, myself, and we. This is a dire need to be. This is a dire need to be induced from the womb and spit out into the bastardized world. It is a need to be angry and complaining about something, angry and complaining about something, angry and complaining about something, and everything, because this world still don't see me. It still don't see me. It still don't see me as a human being. Being human. This is a need. This is a need to be. This is a need to be free without having to die to get there. Peace.
La mer des Antilles, pays si la belle il est tellement douce, il est tranquille, il dit c'est ça l'idée, il est très joli, il est très charmant, le met dans l'homme et des diamants, pas gentil, Haïti, pour toute la vie. Haïti, maman chérie, c'est nos bras pour mourir. Haïti, Haïti, moi remets pour toute la vie. Haïti, maman chérie, c'est nos bras pour mourir. Façon qu'un créole, petite ligne pas parallèle, mais étranger qu'on apprécie. Oui, nos pays chéris, c'est la vie ni pour les mourir. Haïti chérie, c'est la donne pour mourir. We've been through so much. Woo! The pain, the misery, everything we've been through. But we still love Haiti. We still do, because Haiti is ours. God decided to give us that. He had a reason. Have you ever thought, why wasn't I born Chinese? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about, why wasn't I born some other race or some other nation? God had a purpose in making us who we are and in placing us where we are for that particular moment in time, in order to fulfill a specific assignment. And that's why, as Haitians, as children of Haiti, we still love Haiti. And that's why, even though our race has gone through so much, from being taken from Africa to being dropped to the cotton fields of Georgia, the sugarcane fields of Haiti, we held our heads up high. We stood fast because of our single connection with the Almighty God. By the riverside, the warm no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. Study for no more. Study for no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. Study for no more. I'm gonna lay down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my burden, down by the riverside. Study he won't no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. Study for no more. Study for no more. I ain't gonna study for no more. Study for no more. Lovely wash like keeping night no more, no. Lovely wash like keeping night no more, no. Lovely wash like keeping night no more, no. Every morning on the side I show Jericho, just to pick the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Just to pick the battle of Jericho, 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 just to pick the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. You hear me talk about the man, Gideon, you hear me talk about the man, stronger than no one, just like Joshua in the battle of Jericho. I say, just to pick the battle of Jericho, 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 the battle of Jericho, and then the walls came tumbling down. The battle of Jericho, 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 the battle of Jericho, and then the walls came tumbling down. You may talk about the man, Gideon, you may talk about the man, Saul, but there's no one like Joshua in the battle of Jericho. Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, non puoi mirare, Jericho, fa case. Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, Jericho, Jericho, mi la case, non puoi mirare, Jericho, fa case. Non puoi mirare, Jericho, fa case. Mi la mise, non puoi mirare, Jericho, fa case. Mi la case, fa case.
Pardon, pardon, oui, pardon, maman, pardon, pardon, pardon. Aïe, maman, la note, mais pour qui ou a pu faire souffrir? Maman chérie, pour qui ou a pu faire subir? Si c'est parce que pas travail, ou a pu faire passer au travail, pardon m'a demandé au maman, c'est pas pour ça pour maltraiter. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible ou à moyen chéri. Aïe, aïe, aïe. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible ou à maltraiter. Aïe, aïe, aïe. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible ou à moyen chéri. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible ou à faire passer le messie moi, ou à faire dormir, faire caresse, faire caresse, faire dormir, ou à faire dormir. Maman, 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 aïe, 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 aïe. Maman la note, pour qui ou a pu faire souffrir. Maman chérie, pour qui ou a pu faire subir. Si c'est parce qu'il pas de travail, ou a pu faire passer au travail. Pardon m'avait demandé au maman. C'est pas pour ça pour maîtriser. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible, ou à moyen chéri. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible, ou à peu fatigué. Maman, qu'on aime sensible ou à moyen chéri. Maman, ou qu'on aime sensible ou à fatigué. Passez mes souvenirs, passez mes souvenirs, passez mes souvenirs, mais dormir aïe, 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 aïe. Ou qu'on aime ses troubadours, ou regarder, ou faire mes yeux. Font ta folle déclaration pour me capter en bonne position. Dans la vie des maladies, pas penser qu'elle est mourir. On nous profite du chéri, on joue jusqu'à ce que nous mourions. On nous profite du chéri, on joue jusqu'à ce que nous mourions. Dans la vie des folies, c'est pas facile pour ça guérir. Tu chéris ou pas besoin de crier. Mais ménage ou à bébé. Désir, consoler, pas crier. Mais ménage ou à bébé. Désir, consoler, pas crier. Mais ménage ou à bébé. Petit chéri, pas besoin de faire jalousie. Jalousie a metté au prison. Petit chéri, pas besoin à l'envoisinage. Voisinage a metté au dans des bandages. Consoler, pas crier, mais ménage à vie. Désir, consoler, pas crier, mais ménage à vie. Ou qu'on ne sait tout balou, ou regarder, ou faire mon yeux. Faut ta folle déclaration, pour qu'après une bonne position. Dans la vie des maladies, pas penser qu'elle est mourir. On nous profite du chéri, pour jouer jusqu'à ce que nous mourions. On nous profite du chéri, pour jouer jusqu'à ce que nous mourions. Dans la vie de folie, c'est pas facile pour ça guérir. Tu chéris ou pas besoin de crier. Mais ménage ou à bébé. Résilient, consoler, pas crier, mais ménage ou à bébé. Résilient, consoler, pas crier, mais ménage ou à bébé. Petit chéri ou pas besoin de faire jalousie. Jalousie a metté au brisure. Si chéri ou pas besoin à l'envoisinage. Voisinage a metté au délosage. Consoler, pas crier, mais ménage à vie. Résilient, consoler, pas crier, mais ménage à vie. Pas crier, mais ménage à vie. Pas crier, mais ménage à vie.
Do your children to gather under the maple tree to tell stories, saying click for everyone to respond. Tim Tim! I miss you, IT. Do your vendors still walk around the street yelling, "Les pères poivres et la sorole sous l'élémentaire"? Do they still do that? And I miss you. I love you. Do you miss me too, Auntie? You don't have to wait for long. I'm coming to see you soon. And guess what? I won't be alone. All the other brothers and sisters are coming to see you too. They're coming from Georgia. They're coming from New York. They're coming from New Orleans. They're coming from all over. They want to come and get into your embrace. They want to be blessed by your unconditional love, Haiti. They want to feel the power of your strength, Haiti. They also want to be inspired by your resilience. And most of all, Haiti Chérie, they want to make you their Haiti Chérie also. Haiti Chérie, big on faith, passer ou non point. Faut moi te quitter, ou moi te capable de comprendre valeur. Faut moi te laisser, ou moi te capable d'apprécier, pour sentir vraiment tout ça où t'es pour moi. Guerre, bon soleil, bon rivière, bon boulevard. En papier bois, où toujours joigne mon ombrage. Et mon petit vent, qu'avant nous mon petit fraîcheur. Alors mon pays, oh mon Dieu, c'est Haïti. Haiti's waiting for us everywhere. Let's all say, Haiti Chérie!
Good evening. We're approaching the end, but we would remiss if we wouldn't do what I'm going to be doing next. I'm sure you don't know what it is. I'm going to dance. I'm Jean-Pierre, and it's such a pleasure. Thank you. 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, when this crazy gentleman came with this idea of cruise to Haiti, we really thought he was crazy, but now we're sure he is. But I'd like to say a little bit about Ron Daniels. Many of you probably know only about the Haiti Support Group, but this is a brother who's been in the trenches for us for years. And this is not his first foray in Haitian life. if you remember in 1991, when there was this bloody military coup, when people in drove left Haiti, the US government infirmed them in Guantanamo, especially those who were said to carry the AIDS virus. It was a concentration camp. And the Center for Constitutional Rights brought suit on behalf of those people against Bush 1, Bush Daddy, Daddy Bush, and they won. I'd love to say thank God. Yes, thank God first they won, but it is that was the quintessential illustration of this phrase that someone has said before: we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. But many of you don't know that the executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights is Ron Daniel. He was then, and he still continues to be at the helm of this wonderful institution. So I'd like to ask Ron to come up. And is Marie-France, actually I should have called Marie-France first, but is Marie-France Daniel here? Please, can you come up, both of you? Is Marie-France here? Come on. Brother. Thank you. Yeah, a little something I want to show you. It's so heavy. It's sticking. So it's yes, Judith.
This says, the Toussaint Louverture Award presented to Marie-France and Ron Daniels for outstanding dedication to the Haitian cause, cruising into history, strengthening the roots of the Tree of Liberty, August 2004.
movement baby. I grew up in Selma, Alabama, in a household with Rose and Hank Sanders, who from the time before I was born was always involved in bringing our community together. So I grew up in that context. It's often been joked that my first protest was in the womb. And so I remember, I have all of these memories of the way I grew up, of living in a household where there was always a bus of folk, parked outside the door, sleeping in my bed, sleeping on the floor, wherever. And I was the oldest child, so I was usually the first one kicked out of my bed. So I grew up in that kind of context. I grew up in a context where people were always coming and sharing stories about the movement because they were coming to Selma. I grew up in a context where my mother started the National Voting Rights Museum. So, I grew up around the pictures of our people struggling and suffering and being courageous. I grew up in a context where everything around me was analyzed. If we watched TV, if we watched a commercial, whatever it was, there was always an analysis. What is it that people are saying to you that they're not saying, that they don't even want you to know? So I grew up in that context, and I grew up with a passion and a real sense of responsibility for African people. So when you grow up like that, you have no choice but to take hold of that sense of responsibility. I think also in addition to that, I always had a spiritual calling to this work. I remember when I turned 12, I also grew up in an organization called 21st Century Youth Leadership Movement. And I remember while all of the other young people were at a party, looking up at the stars and thinking about the Creator and thinking about our ancestors and thinking about all that we had been through and also thinking about all that we can be.
Leadership, national leadership, for the most part, need to retire.
All right,
Many, if not most, have become corrupt and are making deals with the devil behind our backs. It's wonderful. Two, all of you all have basically stated that knowledge is power. You're absolutely correct. When we were coming up, and I've been in struggle all my adult life, basically starting at 14 when I really discovered who I was. But blackness, as we verbalize it and try to live it coming out of the 60s as a part of the Black Arts Movement, dealt basically with color, culture, and consciousness. And culture, which essentially gives us identity and gives us a sense of purpose and direction, stems from our connection to our African continuum. And so this is not confusing, as you have pointed out, if you're raised in a family, reared in a family that is practicing it daily, whereas Kwame finds it in the Air Force Academy as a reaction to supreme white supremacy. Right? All too often, our people find out who they are as a result of being slapped by people who don't like them or care anything about them. And so, you look at the modern movement, civil rights movement, black arts movement, black empowerment movement, they were led by students. So it is our responsibility as men and women who have been a part of that movement and lived through that movement to step aside and become counselors, become advisors, become supporters, financially and otherwise, to the good young people who are now picking up the mantle. I mean, that's our responsibility. All right? And so the 60s, not only gave us these movements, but the 60s gave us African-centered liberation theology. You see? The 60s gave us the civil rights, the black arts movement, black empowerment movement. The 60s We redefined who we were. We ceased being Negroes and became black and Africans. And the world changed. The 60s changed the world. Whether we want to admit it or not, it changed the entire world. And we were a part of that change. You talk about language as an example. And Lindell knows this probably better than anyone up here because he has to deal with language each and every day with young people as well as with the corporate world. We have to be multilingual. That's how you answer the question. If you're going to function in the real world, you have to be multilingual. And not only understanding the different areas of black language. And see, all of you went to probably Research One universities where you were able to interact and communicate at these Research One universities, but you do not take the language from a Research One university back to Brooklyn. You would get whooped to death. All right? But you must be wise enough to be able to make those distinctions. That's simple as that. I think it's very important that we talked about this earlier, we have to move toward ownership. Ownership at every level of human involvement. We claim citizenship, not because of anything other than our foreparents built this bad boy.
I think that's one of the two most important pieces of work that I try to share with the young people is ownership. Part of what we do, we represent artists in the Arts Empowerment Coalition. You know, when you create a copyright is an intellectual idea, something that can be reduced to a tangible form. You own it at the point in time you create it. The problem, not just with our artists, but our people in general, is once we own something, if we get a chance to own it, what do we do with it? We own Africa. We own our communities here. We own our artistic works. But if we're going to be truthful about the matter, we have made many bad deals in this country and abroad. And so what I'm trying to get people to understand more is the power of leverage and negotiation. And one thing that gets on, really, just to be honest about the intergenerational thing, because you touched on it about the movement. One thing that kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, even in love, gets on my nerves. Just keep hearing about the movement, and you look back and you see, well, what has the movement benefited to our people? How did we negotiate the win of the movement? And we looked at the movement and we said, okay, well, in many respects, we lost our faith. Our church institutions was better, and that was the one place that was our haven. So we lost that connection. It didn't go up after the movement, it went down. In many cases, so many people fell so in love with the movement, we lost our families. And how to keep it real with the families. And then it got so kind of intertwined with a lot of other movements which weren't the African aesthetic and wasn't what was about what we should have been building. We lost our ability to take care of our families. And that's why my generation in the hip-hop movement is not checking for the old movement, because we want to get paid. Somewhere along the line, somebody was talking about, don't make this money. What happened to making money in the movement to make them, like, opposite? We want to get paid. Not just so we can be individually wealthy, so we can use those resources to be free. Getting paid is about having the resources to build and to grow what it is you want to grow. But so many in the movement are trained to think you about money, you ain't about the people. No. So ownership and then the negotiation of what it is that we should own. Integration and everybody leaving the communities, that didn't help us. Now what we should have done, if we don't want to stay just in the urban areas, we should have went and bought land and developed our land and our communities instead of moving up close to the white folk. So that we can have our children going to school with other people who look like them. So now they all run around Jack and Chills, trying to find a way. So I think that, we're going to get there. But it's about ownership, and it's about our ability to negotiate and becoming better negotiators. Let's face it, brothers and sisters. I mean, sometimes we glorify what was happening in Africa. And I love my culture and everything about the heritage. But some of them brothers and sisters made some bad deals. They negotiated some bad deals. We wouldn't be sitting over here like this in this situation if they were better connected with their God and knew how to negotiate their power. So our generation, we're a little bolder. You know, we say what's on our mind. Tupac, he was a twisted brother, but he was genius in some respects.
That's right.
And I think our generation, we're a little more courageous. We didn't see Jim Crow so clearly. So we somewhat ignorant about how you just take us in the back and lynch us. So if we could connect that, we could bring some of that fire, some of that will to win, some of that we want to get paid to the ethos and principles of what we had in faith and what we had in the movement and what we had in love and the struggle and the empowerment and nationalism, Pan-Africanism to the people, then we connected, then we got something powerful.
And not only is
that spoke the most to me was the notion of how the 60s helped change the world. Without a doubt, that's true. And it made me think about our generation and what we have done and what hip hop has done. I reached a personal landmark a couple of days ago when we were in the Bahamas, and I had set foot on the 25th country that I've been to in this world. I was like, hey, 25.
cool.
Thank you. Every single country I've visited, every single country I've lived in, hip hop has been there with me. I've embodied it, and then I've gone there and I've seen it in the culture, functioning inside the culture. Not only just, I remember going to the Eiffel Tower and seeing breakdancers at the base of the Eiffel Tower in like 2000, you know, when people here had long since abandoned the roots of hip hop and that. Going to Trinidad and seeing the way they've infused calypso and soca and rap and come up with their own genre, calling it rapso, you know. Going to Gabon, which is a francophone country where I was teaching, and we were going into schools doing trainings, and I was looking at the graffiti on the walls, and half of it was in English. And I'm like, but y'all speak French. What was it? That was hip-hop lyrics. Hip-hop lyrics were written on those walls, and hip-hop lyrics was how I was able to teach my students English. They wanted to learn the language because they wanted to understand what was being said in this music and this culture that they loved. Hip-hop, you know, not only due to the power of the culture, but due to this particular historical moment where we are, where technology has enabled us to have it become a global entity, there's a power inside of that I think remains untapped. I don't know how many of us really truly understand the power in each one of our words when we put it to music and put it out there. And that's something that I would really like to see us as a generation seize. There was an essay that I wrote talking about women in hip-hop and how I view myself as a hip-hop feminist. And at the close of that essay, I said that one of the most important things that we can do as a generation is to see these benefits that we got from the struggles of the 60s, not as spoils of war, but as weapons to be used strategically in the struggle, because the worst mistake we can make is to believe that the struggle is finished, or that we've reached a place where we can now rest complacent because we have that unprecedented access, or because we have the kind of technology that allows our voice to be heard around the world. There's so much power in our generation, so much power in our culture, so much power that we have as Black people globally, and that's why I really believe that we need to root our struggle for social justice in this global perspective. We cannot achieve social justice without including ourselves as a global diasporic community. And that is why this cruising into history is so absolutely critical for our development and the continuation of the struggle as African people.
Just to quickly add that a couple of things that come to mind, especially when Kwame was sharing his experience, and talking about ownership and it not only being just ownership of the land, but sort of a way of thinking and mindset. At Columbia College, which is where I went for undergrad, NYC? Columbia College in South Carolina, because I get that a lot in the city. Columbia College was a predominantly white school, and I remember being a senior in high school, and I had applied early decision for Spelman, and I got my letter after Christmas, and I got the financial package, and I called my girlfriend Corinne and said, well, I don't think Spelman's going to work for me because, you know, the financial package wasn't, you know, enough. Long story short, Columbia College calls me up because, of course, these predominantly white schools are looking for black students to, you know, their star black students to go to their schools. So they offered, you know, a very nice package, and, you know, that's where I went. But just a little bit about that experience. I mean, I feel like, again, I'm privileged to be up here, and I feel like I'm the young, you know, person up here, and I'm sort of scratching the surface in terms of my responsibility and the things that I can and will do. But and just relating my experience to ownership at Columbia College, our student of color population was more than USC or Clemson, which are universities in South Carolina, and their percentage of students of color would 3 to 5%. Yet if you were to walk on a campus, Clemson or USC, you'd feel that presence, and you would feel the traditions, whether it's the Greek, you know, fraternities and sororities, or some of the celebrations that happen on campus. You'll feel their presence on campus. But in my school, where the percentages were anywhere from 15 and now it's about 30%, 35% students of color, you'll walk on campus and you feel none of that. So you would think that it's an all-white school, and that's one thing that I struggled with as, you know, student government president, to try to communicate and try to create this feeling of ownership. This is a school that I pay my money to go to just like anybody else pays to go to. I expect certain things just like any other student expects certain things, and sort of having that support. I remember in an English class, we, you know, in English, at the time we didn't have African American lit course at all at Columbia College. So our extent of it was a chapter in your anthology with your, you know, your mainstays, Frederick Douglass, Langston Hughes, and of course that was even selective. But my point in that is, when I brought that up to the professor with some other students of color, we were simply just looked at and said, okay, well, you go do the research, you come back and present it to the class, you know, as if I would be the authority on the issue. And so having that experience, you know, we're immediately on a panel, and we have students looking at us to tell them about Zora. And meanwhile, my professor is sitting off to the side, not feeling any kind of responsibility to try to, you know, maybe say, hey, I need to learn about this too, and so that I can present this to my students. But I say all that to get back to the ownership. With my students that I deal with, they're looking for, you know, a way to identify with the material that we're presenting. And so as a person educating them, and I'm looking for that too, material so that I can identify with, it's my experience that I can connect with, so that they do feel empowered and they do feel that self-esteem, so that they know where they come from and what, you know, what this information is about. And, you know, speaking about Haiti, it's something that I didn't learn about until much later. And I'm certain that many of my students, it's the same case. The story is not a familiar one to them unless perhaps they are of Haitian descent. So, you know, just hoping that this experience can be translated into, you know, the classroom.
Together the resources and raise the capital enough for me to leverage in to be one of the owners of this team. So now I'm an owner of a professional franchise in a team. There are only 7 of us. We're all them black folk running around the course. There's only 7 partial owners. And we're minority owners. Now, will we have any influence in the decision making of the team? Probably not much, because we're minority owners. But if our community is moving with us and we're on the inside and we get the files and we get the prospectuses and we get all the information, then we empower each other. So I think it's a combination. It's not no one way, but we're gonna have to do it together. But economic empowerment is so important to this generation. And I know that was the last thing I was gonna say. I'm sorry, I keep it. Hip hop, real quick. As much as hip hop is big, as much as it's done a lot, we don't control hip hop no more. I'm sorry to say that.
That's right.
The billions of dollars that are invested in hip hop are coming from white America today. And they're in partners with people who we would call overseers back in the day. And they're running around and being very popular, okay, influencing everything from legislation to youth movements. Okay, we have to be very careful about what's going on with hip hop. Okay? We don't control it like we used to. Chuck D and I, we were always talking about hip hop today is controlled from the boardroom. We have to bring it back to the essence, and then we have to do that is from the people and from the arts and changing the young people to rebel against this Amos and Andy hip hop we see today.
That's right.
And get back to what it was when we first started.
Let me just respond, and then we're going to kind of go to the audience. One of my cultural sons is a brother by the name of Bakari Kutana. He worked with me at Third World Press for 5 years. Then he went to the Source as the editor-in-chief. And he left the Source primarily because he wanted to write the hip-hop generation. He wouldn't give me time off, so he just quit. And he married, and a sister lived in Cleveland. But the convention that took place about 6 weeks ago in Newark, that was planned at Third World Press in Chicago. All right. So there are brothers like yourself who understand that we're losing and have lost in many cases that edge. Each of us, all of us, need a cultural, political family. One of the reasons I respect Reverend Wilson so much is because he has a religious, but it's also religious, cultural, political family. It's a family at his church. You have to go to D.C. and just see what he's doing. And I think that these cultural families, in many cases, become much more important than your biological family, because often you can't even, you can't communicate with your biological family, even though we must continue to try. 2, this African-centered perspective is not a joke. He became conscious at the Air Force Academy. My children became conscious before they were born, because they were born into an African-centered family and into the African-centered institutions. I didn't become conscious until I was 14 years old. So we got to get them at birth. But the only way we can get them at birth is you have to have the African-centered institutions.
Yes.
The churches, schools, and so forth. That's very clear. To get where you are and where all of you are, and this is what you were talking about at one point, we have to understand not only how we can be bilingual, we have to become guerrilla warriors. You can't give your whole card every time you open your mouth. You've got to be a guerrilla warrior. You go into corporate America, you can't go in there talking, I'm the baddest thing. You got to go in and be, like you say, negotiate. That's what guerrillas do all over the world. You don't know who they are, but you turn around, your head may just drop off. Guerrilla warriors are effective if they understand culture, if they have consciousness from the culture, from an African-centered perspective. This is very clear. We're not reinventing anything now. We know this. That's why education is key. And that's why we've been working with these children starting at, 2.5 years old. But you know what? There's no glory there. Nobody's going to say thank you dealing with these children. The parents in many cases don't want to deal with them. But the point is, we've seen it. So we take it from 2.5 years old, and next year we'll have a high school, from grade school to high school. And guess what? That's what we're doing at Chicago State University too. We're going to bring them right through there. All right. That's 70%. Next level is this. We talked about education, but you must understand that the best, quote unquote, higher education in the world is the United States. Everybody and their mama trying to get over here. Be careful with this people of color stuff. All right? And the reason I say that, because you can talk about people of color at graduate school and there are no black people. Asians, mainly. All right? But in terms, you look at the Research One graduate schools in this country, and you find that we are clearly, quote unquote, in the minority, where we should be in the majority.
Exactly.
We're the citizens of the country. All right. Moving on, just trying to keep my notes. All right. The next level was that not only do we want to be paid, we want to be in a position to pay.
Yes.
Gets back to ownership again.
Yes.
All right. Being able to pay those people. And then finally, and I think this is, very important, is that we can only do what we work to do. Is that one of the things that we learn in the struggle is that if you work in an 8-hour day, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. These bad boys getting up at daylight, doing their 5-10 mile swim, run, going into the office, staying all day. You know what I'm saying? We have got to understand the work ethic. The work ethic. When you move toward ownership, you got to be able to work for it at a level that very few people understand. And anti-intellectualism, you got to go up against it all the time. is that people who run the world know it. Ideas and the creators of ideas run the world. If you're Christian, that's an idea. If you're Muslim, that's an idea. If you're Sikh, if you're Buddhist, these are ideas. If you're Democratic, this Republican, ideas. If you're socialist, a communist, again, in fact, if you're a member of the Sugar Hill Gang, that's an idea. Ideas are powerful. And so therefore, we have to be in the arena of fighting for the African black ideas that work in the best interest of the great majority of black people, not the elite few. I'll just leave it right there. They see a need, and that's what leaders do. They see the need to step up to the table against great odds, move on. See? So brother, you know, we right behind you, right beside you. Go on.
My name is Emily Moore, and I'm 62 years old. So
It is winter. Her body nestles into the crocheted quilt draped over the fading floral couch, like a shawl suspended on aged shoulders. A half smile hunches her face as she grudgingly admits, "Oh, I can't keep my story straight anymore. Lately, I don't know who I be or where I belong." Grandma laughs heartily at her favorite line, but soon settles sadly into the reality of what's been said. Our gazes lock. It is winter, and the stories swirl hazy now. Her forehead furrows as she trudges through lifetimes that cover each other in blizzards of memory. Teaching in one-room schoolhouses, plus working for the white folks in the summers to afford school, and sustaining 5 decades of marriage while studying genealogy and earning her college degree over 30 years, one class at a time. Oh, how she hated being called a maid, but now all of her children and her grandchildren have college educations and can trace our family history back for 8 generations. Alzheimer's falls through her thoughts like snow erasing each step. She emerges from her thoughts, cold and confused. I lean forward, cover her hand with mine, speak steadily. That's why we're here, Grandma, to keep you grounded. With fingers fragile as intertwined ice, she clasps my hand, finds foundation in our eyes. Until I can fly again,